Good morning. It has been 84 days, 80 plus days since I started these potatoes in whiskey barrels farther there. And then I also planted some potatoes here, and they are ready for harvest. They are wilting back. Welcome to Garden on a Hill, where we talk about easy home gardening. My name is Vin, and in this channel I share things that make my life easy in the garden, which today is going to be about these Adirondack blue potatoes. They are purple potatoes, beautiful gourmet potatoes that I have invested on this year. Typically I just put buds of potatoes to the left and to the right, but this year I kind of saved a bed for them and a whiskey barrel, so let's see what happened. For those of you who are new, welcome to my front yard garden. This is where I chose to plant my potatoes in a raised bed and whiskey barrels because it's the only spot in my garden that typically has some good sun, at least full sun, right? You need that spot for good potatoes. If you like seeing my videos and you feel like you are learning from my experience, make sure you hit that subscribe button or that bell button so anytime I upload something new, you get notified. Anyway, this has been 85 days, and typically from literature, Adirondack Blue is ready in 60 days. So it looks like it's long overdue, but I did read further. It says it's ready in 60 days if you want those little fingerling potatoes, the ones that are smaller ones. I want these to be the full-size grown potatoes, so hopefully I get success this year. If I become successful on the harvest, and then I'll share my tips. If I am not successful on the harvest, then I'll probably tell you what possibly could have gone wrong, and that's just a guess. But anyway, let's go into it. Let's look at these potatoes, because some of them are definitely popping out of the ground. If you want to store your potatoes for a longer period of time, you may want these leaves to actually die back as brown leaves all the way to the ground. That's what I've read. And after they've died back to the ground, give them about 2 weeks so they can form a thicker skin without watering the ground. Keep it dry so it doesn't rot. Now, if you want fingerling potatoes, RUGA, University of Georgia literature says basically when the flowers come out, you have mature little potatoes under. So that's kind of be a good guideline for you before you harvest. This probably has been 3 weeks after it flowered. Things are wilting, so I'm kind of in that in-between phase of harvesting, which I don't mind because I'm not really going to store this for the winter as well, and I didn't want fingerling potatoes. I just moved these whiskey barrels around so you can see you can move them anywhere if you need full sun, and also it's easier for me to harvest here. But anyway, this is part 3 of the 3-part series that I made for potatoes. I'm going to link the part 2 here when I started to plant these 3 different barrels. These 3 different barrels, in short, if you want to access that link, has more details, but it's kind of 3 different methods to just see how much more production we can get from different methods. Barrel 1 to the left is a whole seed potato, and it is planted about 6 to 8 inches deep, just putting your fist on the ground in there, letting it grow with the soil already at the very top, about an inch off of the top of the container. Similar here, very similar method to barrel 1, but barrel 2 I use cut potatoes, which is a cut potato in the middle with 3 eyes on each cut and 4 seeds. Same soil fill level. Third one is a different soil fill level. I filled it up about 6 inches high to 8 inches high from the ground, and then put 4 cut potatoes in there. And as the potato grows, I'm going to hill it. Let's see and debunk that myth. If it does work, we have the constants for the 3 and we have the variables. Let's see which brings a better harvest. I'm going to just go ahead and cut the leaves off so I can see potatoes as I harvest. Look at these. These are promising signs that we're going to get potatoes. That's barrel 1. In barrel 2, I already see a big one right here and another one in there. And on barrel 3, I had seen one there. But that's good sign, so let's go ahead and start harvesting barrel 1. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. So beautiful. Holy crap, we have a lot. 1, 2, good sized potatoes. 3. This is just from one plant. Oh my gosh. 4. Oh wow. 5. That's insane, there's more. 6. Oh wow. 7. Oh, there's more. 7, 8. 8. Let me see if there's more. 8. Remember, there's 4 potatoes in here, so I want to make sure I just harvest the one side. So it looks like at least I have 8 potatoes from that small potato I planted last time. I think the one I planted, I can't tell. I think it's this one that I planted, but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Including that is 8. So that's a good sign. Let's harvest all the other ones. This is number 2. Pull it. Oh wow, look at that. That's the original potato I planted there, and it made a big one. 1, 2, 3. There may be more in there, but that's look at how big that is. We're gonna have a lot of potatoes this year. This is just from one potato. That's the original potato. Right there, you can see the skin is a little rough. This one, just pull it. Well, okay, wow. The original potato rotted, as you can see. It's right there, it rotted. But I have a good size one and another one. Let me see if there's more in there. Hoping there's more. Okay. Not too much on that one. Here. Oh my god, look at the size of that one. That is definitely a big purple potato. Did it just produce one? Let's see. It seems to have produced only one potato. So for barrel 1, that is the harvest for 4 potatoes, whole seed potatoes that were planted last year. Let's look at the other barrels. Barrel 2, you ready for this? This is the first one. I already see a big one. Okay, we have one big one. Second one. Oh, 3. Okay, there you go. This one I had 2. Oh, this one has a lot. 1 right here. Ooh, wow. Wow, look at that. 1, a big one. 3, 4, 5, 6. Here, let's see, 1 more. Right here. Okay, barrel 3. Let's see if the hilling method is a myth or not. Oh, okay. Okay. We have 1 in here. There's another one. Another one. Another one. That's a jackpot. Whoa. Okay. 1, 2, 3, they go deep. Oh crap, look at that. That was a big one. Okay, here we have one. Another one there. Oh, look at that. Another one there. Oh, look at that. Another one there. Okay, got 1, 2, 3. I actually think that is... The sun is coming in, it's getting hot. As you can see, I do have a ton of potatoes, but I want to make sure and topple each and every barrel in here and see if there's potatoes under there to really make sure which is the best producer, because right now these two seem to be tied up. So after turning all of the barrels, this is the harvest that we have. To the very right here is the whole seed potato. This is the cut seed potato, both of them full of soil when I started, 6 inches into the ground with the risk. That one is a cut potato using the hilling method, which means I add soil as it goes. And as you can see, I can't really tell. I'm not going to weigh these, but what I can tell you, I believe from an ocular inspection, this has the most. The whole seed potatoes, 6 inches into the ground. There were 4 seeds about this size planted in here, and I got these big potatoes. As you can see, these are fairly big potatoes. I'm going to wash them later so you can see how purple these are. And I think this has the biggest potatoes out of the 3. This has less potatoes in the very middle. This one has the least amount of potatoes. Now, the hilling method, a lot of people debunk that this actually doesn't work, but I kind of disagree, because after that, the only difference is it looks like they produce the same number of potatoes. This just has smaller potatoes right here, but not very far off from the whole seed potato. Now, if you ask me, what is the easiest? Obviously, just fill it up all the way to the top of the container, plant your potatoes in there. This is pretty close to this, but it's not worth your time filling it up with soil every time you have a shoot coming up. So I would suggest do this if you're container gardening. Now that kind of ends the whiskey barrel experiment, but I still have more potatoes that are right in front of you. These are just cut potatoes that I planted about 2 feet apart, 8 inches apart, to just fit in that bed, and let me harvest that and see how that looks. Off the bat, I'm already seeing a really good sign that we have good potatoes. Look at all these just showing up on surface level. Right now, I'm already seeing about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at how big this one is. Wow. That's amazing. Oh wow, there's another one in there. As you can see, if you plant them in a raised bed, it looks like it's a better harvest for you. Let's pull this. Whoa! Look at that. Good harvest there. That's amazing. Look at this. Another one. There's another one. Right there. That one. That one. Got one potato in there. That's the original potato seed that I started with. It's just a little cut potato. There's another one. Whoa, there's another one in there. Guys, this is amazing. That's for 2 potato plants. I've already had that much harvest. Whoa, there's another one right there. On this little 2x2 section, I have not even finished yet. This mini potatoes. Yay! Oh my gosh! Look at that! Look at that! Whoa! Look at that! Look at that! Beautiful. So guys, I want you to take a look at this. This is about a 2-foot by 4-foot section, and look at all the potatoes that has been harvested just on this section. Look how much potato, and look how many potatoes are left to harvest. So I'm gonna go ahead and still harvest the other areas. Oh God, look at this. Whoa, look at that. Look at all those potatoes. Let's see. Ooh, look at that one. Look at that. Look at that. That's awesome. Woo! Good potato harvest this year. And here we are. Needless to say, it looks like it's a successful harvest. I started with a 3-pound potato seed bag, and I ended up just guesstimating how heavy this is. About 25 to 35 pounds, so it's about 100% return of investment, pound per pound, when you plant your own seed potatoes, and they're going to taste amazing. You also have a variety of small ones, and of course, huge ones, so it's always a win-win when you grow your own potatoes. Now, that means I have to share the secrets because it was successful. Well, I don't mind sharing them, and I did narrow it down to 8 tips for you. Starting with, the seed potatoes. I have a part 1 video of the seed potatoes and the growing guide when I planted these whiskey barrel potatoes, but I will go through all these 8 tips right now. First of all is the potato seed. The potato seed, make sure you get seed potatoes and make sure there's a variety that works for your area. I read through literature that we can't have thick-skinned potatoes here, like those big russet potatoes that you bake. You can grow those zone 5s and above that are colder climates. They should be good. In our area, it's more recommended to grow thin-skinned potatoes like these Adirondack Blues. Yukon Golds and Red Pontiacs are actually far better yields than this, but this is also a thin-skinned potato. But just so you know, that's how tip number 1 works. Potato seed and the variety. Tip number 2, plant after frost. I typically planted February before, and we always get that last-minute frost when my actual potatoes already have about 6 inches in growth, and I feel like every time it sets it back. So this year I planted late March and we didn't have a last minute frost, and I had this, so I think that has something to do with it. Plant after frost if you can try to. Now if you planted before frost, it's fine, it will recuperate. I just don't know if it's going to be the same as this. There's bugs everywhere now. Third tip, plant in a sunny location and make sure that the spacing is ample for your potatoes because they need space to grow. Now, this is about 6 hours of sun here. This is the sunniest spot in my garden. That's why I also planted in whiskey barrels, so I can move them if they need some sun. As far as spacing goes, you would need at least 12 inches apart when you plant them in a line. And the literature says 30 inches, 36 inches, or 3 feet rows apart. Now, I don't have the 36 inches in this row, so I just planted them about 8 inches apart in the row, and I still got this. So at bare minimum, if you want to have something like what I did 12 inch apart as you go through the line, and then also plant 8 inches apart at the very least. Fourth tip, make sure you have a fertile soil. I use a composted chicken manure soil, and also loose, but that doesn't hold too much water. It has to drain out very well. Potatoes cannot stand wet feet or they will rot. Make sure you water well as tip number 5, and you don't overwater. As this session of potatoes grew, I typically watered about once a week, twice if it's too dry, and what dictates it is basically the amount of water that the soil holds. So I use my finger. If I put it in there and the soil sticks in my finger, it's still too wet. Do not overwater. Make sure when you put your finger in there and then you pull out and there's only dust left, then that's the time you need to water. So water well, but do not overwater. Tip number 6, make sure you fertilize. When I started each planting of potatoes, I made sure I had a little half handful of blood meal in there as my long release fertilizer for nitrogen. When you plant your first potatoes, it needs that nitrogen boost to get all its leaves out, to flourish in the sun, to have that energy to get more tubers to grow at the very bottom. So I put a handful or a half handful of blood meal in there, put my hand in there 6 inches down, plant the potato and cover it up. That's a long release fertilizer. Typically takes about 2 to 3 months to break down fully, but you need fast fertilizers as well. So I use a water-soluble fish fertilizer rich in nitrogen bi-weekly once I see about 5 leaves coming out of the tomato. So I did that in cycles. Every 15 days I would water with a water-soluble fish fertilizer. Typically it's about 3 tablespoons per gallon. Just look at the directions in your actual fertilizer container. And then as they grow and they reach about this height, about 1 foot in height, I would put a different fertilizer. I would change to a phosphorus and phosphate heavy fertilizer, which is a More Bloomer Alaska. Typically Alaska also has a fish fertilizer, and that's what I use. I think I only fertilized it every 15 days again, but I only fertilized it twice until the flowers came out. Once the flowers come out, I stop fertilizing. I let it do its cycle. I still water. Once I see the actual leaves start to wilt, I stop watering. Okay, tip number 7, I supported the leaves this year. You saw me have those TP sticks with a green yarn just to support my leaves. Just because every year I grow potatoes, typically get a wind that breaks through my house and then it gushes here and breaks all the leaves. So this time I actually supported them just with a little string like a weave. So you have a TP like this every 4 feet or whatsoever works for you, and then you just weave a yarn around it or a string just to support the leaves so they don't move or break out in case there's wind. And then the last tip, tip number 8, is harvest them when the potatoes are starting to pop out of the ground. You can feel them, you can see you have potatoes already under, especially if you have very loose, rich soil, you can feel them under, or sometimes they go out and pop out. That's when you know it's ready, and obviously the leaves will die and wilt back. I have been told that if you already seen potatoes bloom, the blooms indicate that there's maturity of the tubers under. So if you want little fingerling potatoes like this one, maybe the best time to harvest your potatoes is when they start to bloom. That is it. Those are the 8 tips how I grew this, and hopefully you learned something today. Make sure you make good something out of these potatoes. I think I'm gonna saute them or bake them. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I will give a lot to my friends and family as well. See you later.